They were supposed to be the enemy, men who had marched beneath the swastika, men trained to fight for Adolf Hitler, men captured on distant battlefields stained with blood. And yet, thousands of German prisoners of war would spend the war not behind barbed wire in Europe, but under the wide skies of America. It sounds impossible. While American soldiers fought and died across North Africa, Italy, and the forests of Western Europe, trains rolled across the United States, carrying an unexpected cargo. Not weapons, not supplies. German soldiers. From Texas to Wisconsin, from Arizona to Pennsylvania, more than 370,000 German POWs will arrive on American soil. Many expected hatred. Many expected revenge. Instead, they found something they had never imagined. Clean camps, enough food, medical care, freedom to work, even baseball games and Christmas celebrations. But appearances could be deceiving. Behind the fences, another war was unfolding. Not a war of rifles, but of loyalty. Hardcore Nazi believers ruled through fear. Secret informers watched every conversation. Propaganda refused to die, even in captivity. For many prisoners, the greatest danger was not the American guards standing outside the fence. It was the Germans standing beside them. And for the United States, these prisoners represented far more than a logistical challenge. They became part of an invisible battlefield where democracy confronted dictatorship. Not with artillery, but with ideas. Nobody imagined that the outcome of this hidden conflict would influence thousands of lives long after the guns of World War II fell silent. What followed was one of the most remarkable and least remembered chapters of the Second World War, WWII 1942. The Allies faced a problem few had anticipated. Victory on the battlefield created prisoners faster than Britain could house them. North Africa had become a turning point. Entire German formations surrendered after the collapse of Axis resistance in Tunisia. Tens of thousands of prisoners had to be moved somewhere secure. The answer lay across the Atlantic. America had space. America had resources. And America was protected by an ocean that no prisoner could easily cross. The first trains carrying German POWs arrived quietly. Most Americans had never seen enemy soldiers up close. Newspapers reported their arrival with curiosity, but wartime censorship kept many details hidden. The camps multiplied rapidly. Old military bases became prison compounds. Fairgrounds were transformed. Remote fields filled with rows of wooden barracks, surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. Yet under the rules of the Geneva Convention, prisoners had to be treated humanely. They received the same rations issued to American troops. Many Germans were astonished. Years of Nazi propaganda had painted Americans as violent, greedy, and uncivilized. Instead, they encountered orderly camps, regular meals, medical treatment, and guards who generally followed strict regulations. For some, the contradiction was deeply unsettling. Everything they had been taught suddenly collided with reality. But not everyone welcomed these discoveries. Within the camps, Nazi ideology remained alive. The most fanatical prisoners quickly established secret hierarchies. They identified loyal followers. They intimidated doubters. And they punished anyone suspected of abandoning Hitler's cause. Fear crossed the Atlantic with them. One prisoner who criticized the Nazi regime could find himself isolated. Another might wake to whispered threats. Some paid with their lives. Several prisoners were murdered by fellow Germans after being accused of treason. American authorities slowly realized they were not simply guarding defeated soldiers. They were overseeing fragments of Hitler's regime itself. The camps became laboratories of ideology. Some prisoners clung desperately to the Third Reich. Others quietly began asking dangerous questions. If America truly was their enemy, why were they being treated with dignity? The answer was never simple. Many American officials believed humane treatment served a strategic purpose. A prisoner who experienced democracy firsthand might return home with different ideas. Kindness itself became a weapon, not one that exploded, one that lingered. Meanwhile, the war demanded labor. Millions of American workers had joined the armed forces. Factories expanded, farms struggled, harvests risked being lost. German prisoners filled the gap. Across the countryside, guarded trucks carried POW work details into fields and orchards. They picked cotton beneath the southern sun. harvested sugar beets in the Midwest, cut timber, packed vegetables, repaired roads. Some farmers admitted something that would have sounded unthinkable only months earlier. Without German prisoners, their crops might have failed. It created strange moments. American children waved at enemy soldiers. Farm families shared brief conversations despite language barriers. Some prisoners discovered ordinary Americans looked nothing like the monsters described by Nazi propaganda. Trust developed slowly, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes unexpectedly. Yet every act of friendship carried risk. Some communities objected. How could enemy soldiers receive decent meals while American families rationed butter and sugar? How could captured Germans play soccer while U.S. soldiers died overseas? The questions were understandable. The answers were uncomfortable. America believed that respecting international law protected its own captured soldiers abroad. Humanity was also strategy. But outside the camps, another battle dominated headlines. Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge, the bombing of German cities. As defeat closed in around the Third Reich, prisoners in America received fragments of news. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some refused to believe German defeats. Others insisted secret weapons would reverse the war. Hope became propaganda's final fortress. Then came April 1945. Hitler was dead. Berlin was collapsing. The empire that had promised 1,000 years survived barely 12. Silence settled across many camps. Some prisoners cried. Others stared blankly into the distance. A few finally admitted the truth they had resisted for years. The war was over, but captivity was not. Many Germans remained in American camps for months after Germany surrendered. Returning millions of soldiers across the Atlantic required enormous shipping resources. For some prisoners, this unexpected delay transformed everything. Educational programs expanded, books circulated, classes introduced democratic principles, discussions replaced slogans. Not everyone changed. Some never abandoned their beliefs. Others experienced a slow and painful awakening. When they eventually returned to Germany, they carried more than personal belongings. They carried memories that challenged everything they had once believed. Years later, former prisoners wrote letters to American guards. Some returned as tourists. Some even immigrated permanently. Places once surrounded by barbed wire became destinations of gratitude rather than imprisonment. History had taken an astonishing turn. The enemy had entered America expecting hatred. Many departed having discovered something entirely different. Wars are remembered through battles, through explosions, through maps marked with victories and defeats. But some of history's most important battles leave no craters. They are fought inside the human mind. Behind the fences of America's prisoner of war camps, bullets rarely flew, yet beliefs collided every single day. Some prisoners carried Nazi ideology home unchanged. Others left with questions that would reshape their lives forever. The barbed wire eventually came down. The guard towers disappeared. The camps faded into farms, forests, and quiet towns. But the lessons remained. Power can imprison the body. Propaganda can imprison the mind. And sometimes, the strongest answer to hatred is not revenge, but humanity. Because long after cannons fall silent, it is not only nations that must rebuild, it is the people who survive them. And perhaps that is history's greatest warning. The hardest wars are often the ones fought within us.